Sir, are we ready to get started?
Sorry, Bryce. Yes, we are ready to start.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Bryce B.O.N.D. I am the District 4 Councilman, and this is a bond meeting, not bond as in the City Council. I'll explain that in a second. This is an opportunity. I'm going to read off the script. This is me opening up this meeting. I want to welcome y'all. This is the Boerne Open Neighborhood Discussion bond meeting. And this is a public outreach meeting. It's intended for a free exchange of information between the citizens and the applicant prior to any formal action taken by the city. I can speak as a city council person. I watch a lot of these bond meetings. Laura and Sarah know this. Attend a lot of these bond meetings, even if they're not in my district sometimes. So this one is requesting a rezoning for a portion of the ranches at Creekside development. And tonight, Laura Haining, the Director of Planning, and Sarah Saya, Planner 2 for the City of Boerne, will provide some background for the request and then allow the developer to explain the reason for the request. Then staff will open it up to you for questions and comments. Everybody will be given a chance to speak, so please be respectful and do not talk over one another, each speaker. And staff will call on you to speak one at a time. If you have any questions or concerns after this meeting, please reach out to the staff. And of course, you can always reach out to me. I'm going to post my email and my cell phone number in the comments section. And yes, that's my real cell phone number. And yes, you can call it anytime you have a question or comment or anything. I would welcome just to get to know you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and post my information and also let you know that there is also a city council meeting at 6 o'clock. And so I'm going to be scooting out for that meeting at 6. This meeting was planned well before the city council meeting was planned. So that's why we have kind of back to back. So if you're here for the city council meeting, then you might be on the wrong Zoom, but Sarah will probably explain that. So thanks for being here, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Bryce. So as Councilmember B.O.N.D mentioned, there's city council meeting going on that's going to start at 6 o'clock. That is to discuss bond projects that will be voted on. So if you're attending this bond meeting, which is a Boerne Open Neighborhood Discussion meeting, but what you really wanted to see was the city council meeting discussion about bond, that is a different link. I think Sarah has shared that information. Sarah, is it on the chat?
Yes, it's on the chat if you guys want it. And if by any chance you can't get through the chat, you can go to the city's website and look for at the bottom for the live stream meetings.
Right, so it's live streamed. I imagine most of you probably are in the ranches at Creekside development. We sent out letters of notification of the public hearing. This is not that meeting. This is actually just a discussion between the developer and what they're proposing and the citizens, so that you kind of understand. And this is we hold these meetings so you can have an open discussion with them prior to any action being taken by planning and zoning or council. So there's no action going to be taken tonight. It really is just an open discussion. We will, I see Jeff Hutzler, who is the developer for the project, and I think he's got some other team members on the bond meeting as well. But typically what we do is we allow them to give a description of the project and what they're planning and purposes behind it. And then we'll allow y'all to just ask questions and have a back and forth discussion. And I try to catch everybody. Sarah watches the chat side of it. I'm not as good at that, but I can call on people certainly here. And I can tell who is speaking. You can actually raise your hand. There's a little hand that you can raise if you care to do it that way, or you can just say, I have a question. I could tell who that is, and then we'll let you speak. But let's open it up to Mr. Hutzler. Do you have anybody that's going to be sharing their screen that we need to allow them to share?
Yes, either Courtney Just, bottom left on my screen, or Ryan. One of those two, they can kind of be on call. Those are both my engineers with Quiddity.
Great.
Formerly Jones and Carter. They're better at sharing screens. I'll be
Do
doing
you want
talking.
to, do y'all have anything you want to, Courtney, is there anything you want to share right now?
Yes, I will share my screen right now.
Courtney, I guess existing zoning, and then we'll go from there.
Are y'all able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Councilman Bodie, Laura, thanks for having us tonight. The purpose of this rezoning that we are requesting is just the southern portion of the ranch of the Creekside. It is the highlighted, you want to call it dark yellow, and the highlighted kind of different color green portion of that. Nothing else is being proposed at this time. Of course, the lots that you see on that northern portion are the existing lots, the Unit 1s, Unit 2, part of Unit 3, Unit 4A, 4B. Some of the street articulations or plats that are currently approved, just waiting to be put on the P&Z, which will hopefully be this end of this month, and we'll start developing that this stuff in that R2M that is currently in that tan, that light brown area. But our rezoning request is that mainly the bottom portion. When we purchased this property, from Peter Herf, many years ago, we had it under contract right at the last zoning approval meeting with council. This was a zoning that was set forth when we purchased the property. It had 80-foot lots on the east side. You can see that column of lots adjacent to us on that side. It had a residential estate lots adjacent to the creek because they didn't want any small lots. So they have those larger 1 acre lots there, which has always been our intention to leave as a buffer. We don't ever plan on building anything near the Cibolo Creek for obvious reasons. The lots along 46 were always the larger lots, the R1M as in Mary lots, transitioned a little bit smaller lots, the R2M as in Mary. And then you get to the southern portion where we're looking to rezone now. That was the R1M as in Mary. What that entailed was, we have a mix of 55-foot and 65-foot products here in the ranches of Creekside. It's been that way from the beginning. Now that we're developing some of those areas along the eastern boundary line, we are, platting some of those 80-foot lots. And on this exhibit, that's the lots in yellow all along that whole side. We've got a 25-foot buffer. We've got the larger lots just because we've got some of those adjacent ranchettes.
And those are going to remain, correct, Jeff?
Those are going to remain. We're not proposing anything all the way down to the creek. Those are all going to be 80s. We don't have any intention to do that. Our goal is just to get that R1M over to an R2N, and just kind of some background on what we've done thus far. Is if you look at our Unit 1s through Unit 4 so far, we do have the ability to build 40-foot lots. We have no desire to build anything that small. Our smallest lot is 55-foot wide. We have a mix of 55s and 65s where our average lot size is over 9,000 square feet collectively between those two. So we far exceed the minimum of 5,400 square feet and 4,000 square feet that the zoning allows in the existing part of Ranch and Creekside. And we pretty much want to take that to the southern portion. Our desire is to build the same kind of a consistent mix of 65-foot products along the channels, the natural channels there. Those lots that do back up to the buffer along Cibolo Creek will all be the bigger 65-foot lots, but we just want the ability to have Highland, Perry, Siddeley, to be able to continue building, 2 product lines in the ranches, which is that 55 and 65 foot product. The zoning they're requesting, does allow a 50-foot product in that zoning. Both builders like that extra 5 feet. So we will continue building that 55-foot wide product if this zoning request is ultimately approved. As well, we'll be, hitting that 65-foot product, that zoning currently allows. The square footage that we typically have on our 55-foot lots, our minimum depth is 130 feet, which, puts our 55-foot lots, almost 7,200 square feet, which is almost 2,000 square feet more than, what the zoning table, minimum is. Their minimum is 50-foot wide by 5,400 square feet, but we don't have any desire to build a 108-foot deep lot. The builders
This
build.
actually ultimately ends up being less lots on the ground, correct?
Correct. Our approved master plan was 873. When the last time we updated it 3, 4, 5 years ago, completely getting this thing lotted to, exactly the way we are requesting, we brought that down to 855, which is, we lost 17 lots, by, moving this, getting the lots. Of course, some of that, we had some fire department comments that we've had to address. We've had to widen some streets. We've had to, create some loops. We've had to, for, the utility guys have wanted some loops. We've connected some streets. We've added an entry. So, some of that loss was due to some comments that we've got from the fire department, from Public Works, and from the utilities guys. But no, that is a correct statement that even though we are requesting smaller lots, just from, getting it exactly the way we want and, matching the open space area that we need to keep following, we've lost 17, 18 lots, and it's
Right.
the plan that you see on the screen.
And so when you say smaller lots, you're talking about more narrow frontage, but they're actually a little deeper. How much, what's the square footage difference in?
The square footage is not going to look any different than what we have. The minimum depth that we've promised the builders is 130 feet. So the minimum, absolute bare minimum lot size in the 55 will be 7,150 feet. Just because we've got curvilinear streets, you're never going to have 130 feet by 50, 5-foot lot. So, if you zoom into that table that Courtney's got top left, I've asked them to kind of run a rough guess, and what we're looking to rezone is 5, 6, 7, and 8, our final 4 units out there. You can see the average lot size, far exceeds, even what the 65-foot frontage minimum would require. The 65-foot frontage, quick math, on, the minimum square footage on the 65-foot lot is, 7,800 square feet, which, let me do some quick math. I mean, that's 120-foot deep lot. So 65 by 120 meets the frontage requirement, and it meets the square footage requirement. So we're going deeper. We're going 10 foot deeper. We're going 10 foot wider, which gives us about 400 more square feet. For that deeper lot, but slightly narrower frontage. And that's I think a very good trade-off. I think having deeper lots and getting people bigger, larger backyards. We've got no the setbacks are exactly where we like them to be, 20 in the front, 20 in the back. The garages are set back another 5 feet per zoning if they are front facing, which they all are. And that's just a program that the builders are enjoying, having the 55-foot lot standard. They do have the 65-foot product, similar floor plans. They kick the master bedroom out, kick the living room out, offer another option for an extra portion or a bay in the garage. on some of the plans, but our goal is to kind of reproduce what the northern portion of ranches has been to the southern portion of our ranches has been. And that's just to remain consistent with, what Perry and Highland have, plugged in, since the initiation of the project. Siddeley as well, but Siddeley has always been on the 55-foot lots, on their garden products. So won't really change for them, but that's really the basis of our application. We're still going to maintain that kind of that meandering buffer along the Cibolo. We're not going to get into the bluffs. Those backyards really start at the kind of the top of the slopes. Those larger, darker red lots. So we're not, we have no desire to encroach into there. There is a little bit of articulation for those 65-foot lots, just because, cleaning up some of the edges of that big broad line that was, I guess, painted on there when the original zoning was put in place. There is a little bit of articulation just to get that edge, exactly where this plan matches the zoning. So some of that RE, just if you can put up the proposed zoning, Courtney. There is a little bit of articulation in there, just to get those 65-foot lots, kind of, call it cleaned up, just that edge, tightened up, firmed up, and, so that land plan that you saw on the previous screen, matches exactly what the zoning is. But I think we're, like I said, the frontage, really, the square footage is no problem. We build really big lots historically. It's just the frontage. All we're asking is just the change in zoning, just to allow that frontage to be a little bit narrower, but still build, larger lots and actually fewer lots.
Right. So I'm gonna let Sarah explain a little, because she does a better job than I do, about the zoning. So each zoning has very specific criteria for frontage requirements, and you can't exceed, or actually you can't be smaller than certain frontages. And so that's the reason for the rezoning, is they'd like to have a little bit more narrow frontages, so that kicks them into a different zoning category. So that's putting it very simple. But Sarah, can you talk about the difference between the two zonings, specifically the lot dimensions? And then we'll open it up to everybody's questions.
Based on the master plan that it was approved, as he was saying, like the orange, Courtney, can you open the approved master plan, please?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay. So they approve for 55 single family residential lots. So the 55 frontage can only be achieved if you have the R2N. The R2M that is on the north side allows for even smaller lots than what the R2N that they're requesting. So with the R2N, they would be able to have the 55-foot that is approved on the master plan, that it also adds another layer of lot size control from where the city stands. And the red ones that they were approved for 65-foot frontage based on the master plan, it is in compliance with the R1M that they're requesting for that side, different than that RE, that what is there currently. If you look at the yellow lots that it's on the bottom of the screen.
Actually on the east side, but they've got the
Yes.
master plans turned.
And if you look at the zoning map, it's zoned as R1L, and the R1L, they are not changing because that is in compliance with what the master plan that they have approved. The R1L, the minimum lot size is 80 foot of frontage. So the master plans allows for 80, the zoning allows for 80. So that's not something that is being touched. The idea is only to make sure that the zoning base category that the area has complies with the master plan that it was
And
previously
it does,
approved.
right?
With the request, it does.
Right.
And Sarah, I don't mind, I'm just kind of going through the chat just to catch up on some things. Someone asked a question, who the builder is for the 80s. Perry and Highland have those lots. You know, we don't have any other builders. They've got escrow money on, you know, the entire balance of the project. Clearly will be the builder of, you know, to finish out 3B. And then Clearly also is under contract for unit 5, which is the area on this screen. It's the top left bank of lots, those 70 lots. So Clearly we'll be building a second garden community in there, as well as 3A and 3, finishing out 3B right in the center where they're at now. So, but the 80s will be basically the way the escrow money works out. Highland has about 45%, Perry has about 55% of the balance of the lots. So it will be a split between those two.
Okay.
So,
And also on the percentage side, the city has spreadsheets for a bunch of different developments, and we have the percentage of this development that has been approved by city council and how many lots in each category have been approved, to make sure that whatever at the end of it, when it's all platted and developed, matches whatever it was approved by the master plan when the whole thing started as well.
Right. If any of you have been around long enough, there were some revisions at one point, and that's a whole separate process to go through a master plan update. They don't need to do that here because it does follow the current master plan. It's just a matter of the appropriate zoning so that they can get the frontages that they need. So the master plan itself, other than them actually reducing some numbers, but it's less than the 10% of overall, that's another requirement in the ordinance. They're not changing anything on what was approved for the master plan. So let's open it up to some questions.
There's a few questions on the chat. If Jeff or Courtney can go over there and look them up, or if whoever asked the question want to unmute themselves and ask it, feel free to do that as well.
Yeah,
Sure,
I
y'all
answered
can
it.
speak if you'd like.
I answered the
Just let us
80 reduction. Reduction of total homes. I'm trying to see the question. That was a statement. What if whoever asked? I think it'd be easier just to open it up and I'll answer questions as they come in.
Sure.
If that's
We can do that
easier.
too.
That way we can be a little more elaborate than.
Yeah, that last one, this is Dan Bilski over on Boulder Creek. I thought I heard a comment in originally the reduction of the total number of homes from 875 to 855. Some of that space was to address some questions, concerns that the city had in terms of width of streets, maybe fire and utility questions. And then did I also hear that there could be some new open space? I'm just trying to confirm that the reduction of total lots is that space is what it's really going for.
The reduction, the way the land plan goes, the original master plan just had big broad areas, an estimation. We had a coving plan that we kind of tried to follow. You kind of see the first few units look a little different than the back as we moved on. That coving was just very difficult to construct, very difficult to build utilities consistently. So we kind of migrate away from that. That was when we originally had the approval way back when we bought the land. We were around 898 lots as an approved. Once we kind of nailed down the lots, we were 878, I think there was. And then we had some changes. We realigned Her Branch Boulevard, got cleaned up a little bit to miss some, larger trees and some larger areas. That got changed. We went down to 872. So we're not necessarily, putting 17 lots back into the mix, but when you put the land plan, you put the lots in there, you start doing the design process, realizing that utilities need to be connected. You have lots, lows and streets where you need to discharge water, get them to the natural corridors. You start losing lots pretty quickly once you get to the
okay, that answers it. Another question quickly. Access to this parcel, is it coming in from Her Branch Road and Copper Creek? Is that the only two entrances?
Yes,
Those are the two main
the
entrances.
two main entrances. Yeah.
Are there going to be any others that the city's going to try to do maybe closer to Almond Road? I mean, that, you know, 875 additional homes, you know, both Herf Ranch Road and Cooper Creek, or it's going to add a lot of traffic.
No, the Copper Creek and Herf Ranch have been the only two that have been proposed since the inception of the project, you know, 8 or 10 years
I
ago.
think in the past, there was some discussion originally about connecting to Almond Road, but there is no connection to Almond Road. There's not one proposed, and we have not approved anything.
Along with that, it looks like Copper Creek dead ends to the east. Can you tell us a little bit about that road and why that isn't a cul-de-sac?
So I'll try to explain that, Jeff. On the city's thoroughfare plan, there, this Copper Cove, is that what it is? I'm sorry, I should know. Copper Creek. Actually is on our thoroughfare plan, and the idea ultimately is to make a connection further to the south, where traffic could come in off of 46, go through the subdivision, and I can pull up the thoroughfare plan if I can find it quick enough and show y'all. That was in place prior to the development of the subdivision, so the city actually has made them punch out to that point. Now we haven't bought, we would have to buy property to push that road all the way through and have it go south and then over the creek. And ideally it would have connected with South Glen and then cut through that area over, you know, down Cascade Caverns Road to I-10. That's a whole lot of puzzle pieces that have to come together. Property owners have to be willing to sell or develop. And that's how we get roadway systems, but we plan for the future. Thank you, Sarah. But we do plan for the future, and this is on our plan. You can see it right there. Thank you. And then it pushes out, and it pushed out past, further down Cibolo Creek, because it's a very sensitive area right in there, just south of Ranches and Creekside. So we didn't want to cross right there. So we actually show it pushing further out and then connecting. You can see it goes through South Glen further to the south. That is on our thoroughfare plan right now. So maybe someday it will connect, but there's nothing in the works right now. That connection, that loop there at between South Glen and Ranches at Creekside would require some development to happen between here and there.
So Alan is talking about the first one, which is between our houses, and there is absolutely no road room between our two houses to put a boulevard. So since I live on that piece of land, are y'all considering turning right and then going down my property line and putting the road there to connect then to the bottom part?
The city has just asked us to dead end our road.
Can we respectfully ask?
Oh,
that
gotcha.
be removed?
Yeah.
Can we respectfully ask that stubbed out be removed completely, just because it will go into Pastor Taha's pool and into my barn if that ever were to come to fruition?
So that's the big question if it ever comes to fruition.
Yeah, except that we need a little peace of mind also.
Yeah, I do understand. And we've actually, I don't know how, have you owned that property for a long time?
30 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I think we've had this discussion before.
Yes, we have.
And that was the question then. I mean, we understand that it's already developed. So whether or not this can or eventually does go somewhere, I don't know. There are a lot of properties I've been with the city for 18 years now, and I would have said it was never going to develop. And that's just not what I've seen. Over time, things change and development does occur slowly. So if you never develop your property, that road will likely never be built. That's a simple answer. I know it doesn't give you a lot of peace of mind, but it's got to connect somewhere. And we were trying to run it along a property line, which was kind of the best we could do at the time.
We are not individuals. We are a subdivision.
No,
and
I understand.
We have guidelines. There is no development within our homeowners guidelines. So my thought would be that will never be developed because the homeowners association would never allow that.
In the past, when we first started looking at this, and we could get completely off on the thoroughfare, so I don't want to focus too much on it, but I understand your concern. When we originally looked at this, we had the road going south just straight across the creek because that's the path of least resistance, right? But when we took the road that direction, we found out that there was some very sensitive areas over there. So we ended up shifting it towards your property to address that. So we kind of done the best we could with that. It could shift at some point in the future, but likely as Ranches at Creekside develops out, it'll be less likely to shift it. So it may be the road to nowhere, but it is on our thoroughfare plan, and we get bits and pieces of it as we go over time. With the development of Ranches at Creekside, we got a section of it. That's just the reality of how thoroughfare plan works.
In section 8, where that portion of Copper Creek is our 11th hour unit. That is the last one we will be doing, just so we do have a reserve or a parachute just in case you do decide to turn it a little south or wherever.
And I don't want to say never will this line shift, because it can. So Jeff is, it is the last of their development. If something were to happen further to the south and it would open up a chance for us to get the road through, we would definitely shift the line to adjust for that, because ideally we want it to connect at some point. That is where we've got the line right now.
Because there's a narrow gap. It's the Friends of Cibolo, and you've got I think Pfeiffer, I can't remember.
There's a couple of questions in the chat that I think, Jeff, you can probably talk about it, but it's asking about the property facing 46.
Yeah, we're not, none of that is under, we're asking for any rezoning at this point in time. That may come later, but that the purpose of this zoning is just that stuff to the south and the residential only. The area up front is zoned R2M, the current plan. That's the zone that we inherited, that area. In that dark red top left northwest corner falls into the R2M zoning of what the previous development has been, but we're not asking for any change in that zoning at this point in time.
Yeah, that's why when we sent out the notification, hopefully y'all have gotten some letters already. We sent out notifications on Friday, and we specifically, sorry about that. And we specifically called out the southern portion so that nobody would confuse it with the northern stuff. We're not even talking about that. They're not requesting that at all.
And then the next units, we've got approval of unit 3B. Courtney, if you want to lead her into 3B. Who's got the screen right now? Courtney?
I actually have it.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to tell me where 3B. I see. Sorry.
Keep going.
I'm looking sideways.
To the right.
3A, there's 3B.
3B is right there, and then of course 2A will be the extension of Herf Ranch Boulevard, and then that bigger entry directly across from Herf Ranch, and then the whole northeast section will be 2B. So 2A, 2B, and 3B have been approved by all city staff. We're working through the final plating comments, which they have. Hopefully will be on the August 29th agenda for all three of those items. We do have a grading permit for 3B, so the construction you see right now is just some earthwork to get one of my contractors started. Larger contractor just wants to wait till final approval, which is understandable, but contractor for 3B asked to start, so city granted me a grading permit. That's really all I can do is move some earth right now, pending the August 29th agenda. The next unit will be unit 5, which will be where that big purple aerial is. That's unit 5. Certainly we'll be closing out 3B and needing some lots. Then we'll move to the right with unit 6 up.
Over here?
6. And then again, 6 is outside the area where we're asking for rezoning. So, but I'm still adhering to those larger, bigger lots. I've got 80s, I got the bigger 55. So, again, 6 is an area where I could build 40-foot lots, but I haven't built a 40-foot lot in my life. If I'm not starting until.
So based on current zoning, you could build 40s.
But so we'll stick with the 55 and 80s in there. There's a few 65s along the creek. And then we'll go to 7, which is the middle section along the creek, and then we'll finish with 8, the bottom right. So those are, we typically like to save the areas along creeks and buffers and to be our last one. And that's what we're doing here. And just, we do have some sewer things to work out with Public Works. So that's kind of why we're methodically plotting along the way the development goes, just to keep pace with the direction the utilities need to go and the capacity that Bernie's got right now. So,
and one of the questions earlier was, and Jeff mentions coving. I'm not sure that everybody understands it, but it's very curvy roads and so forth. In a utopian world, it's pretty. However, what we have found, because it was one of the things we required for a while, what we found is utilities don't work well in coving. Is what he's calling it, very curvilinear. So some of these road alignments may be adjusted somewhat based on fire code. You can't have a street so long and can't dead end. It can't dead end longer than, 300 feet, 400 feet, something like that. So they had to make some adjustments to that as well. So that did reduce some of the lot count. So just kind of clarify that, Jeff's answer earlier.
Yeah, coving, we hired he's a very brilliant guy. He's writes software. He could probably outright any designing software from the larger companies. He's got some proprietary stuff, and it was a great plan. Then we got into Boerne requested gas, Boerne requested reclaimed water, and all of a sudden that right of way got congested with, normally you develop something, you have, sewer down the middle, water on one side, electric on the other. Once we bought Reclaim, which is a tremendous asset to the community, so is gas at Boerne's request, just because those are 2 providers. You put 5 utilities in this extremely curved right away, you run out of room quick. Things just are tough to get in the exact right spot. And so we've still got some integrity with the little curves, but it was just tough. So that's once we really got every lot down and into the software, you lose a few. You talk to the fire marshal, he wants an extra entry. You had some stacking, some staging areas. They've changed some code requirements on how far you need to be. The streets, you've got wider streets in the 55-foot lots than you do with the 65, because you've got a few more cars per linear foot going through there. So a lot of that stuff changed. And then but I had a question about the house. That is Peter's Hurst house. He has a tree there that,
This one right here?
Right. Yeah, that house is going to remain. We've platted around it. It's, it'll be required to have a sewer service, water service once we plat around it, but it'll be, I think that square is sitting at about 1.25 acres. It can't front on the driveway, actually have to come off of a private street because we can't front that. Can't have a lot with a driveway on Herf Ranch Boulevard.
Right.
So it'll come, the driveway will actually be within the community. They will be required to be within the community, pay dues and all that good stuff once it's platted.
Jeff, down by that ranch house there, the builder at one time wasn't using dumpsters and was just piling trash. And then I noticed maybe about 3-4 months ago, they kind of cleaned it all up. And are you guys moving forward using dumpsters?
We've dropped. If the builders said they got everything out, I disagree, because I don't build houses, and a lot of stuff in my landscapers pile has been removed, and we've been rotating dumpsters in and out, but it's been several of the dumpster companies. It's very difficult. You want to make some money, go out and buy dumpsters from the Northeast and bring them to Texas, because you will make money. Finding dumpsters and getting them to pull them and haul them out and drop another one has been tough. So we're in the process of getting all that trash picked up and hauled off. The builders still have some stumps out there, but beside the point. No, we're getting that area cleaned up, because that area will be, kind of the linchpin in getting these 3 units developed, because I do need to build Herf Ranch Boulevard prior to any of these next units getting accepted. So that's a huge, huge key. Yes, the rock, anything that backs up to Copper Creek or Herf Ranch Boulevard, we'll be getting that rock wall as well, on both sides.
I assume that's one of the questions, Jeff.
Yeah, that was one of the questions. That's the last one. So,
Okay.
is Herf Ranch still district?
Hey, Jeff, Rick Swinghammer here. Going back to your introduction, just to make sure I understand what you're requesting here. You're really asking for this change in the area in purple to accommodate the city, fire, various other agency requests of you to make adjustments. Is that really what this is all about?
No, the adjustment is so we can continue building the same mix of products we have up front. The 55s and the 65s. What the zoning is right now just restricts us to only building 65-foot lots down there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And 65 only, which would put put us and put the builders at a pretty disadvantaged. I think the intent is to build branches to Creekside, with the look that it already has, a mix of 55s along some of the curved sections that backs up to some of the, the creeks, the streams, the corner lots that back up to, the thoroughfares, of course, and, protecting, getting a little bit bigger lots so there's fewer of them along that buffer that bounds the Cibolo Creek to the south, and the Nature Conservancy and Cibolo Nature Centers, trust. But at the time,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
At the time, it's just once you're doing that and you start really, getting lots configured, getting lots put in there, you kind of send them to Laura's group. Laura circulates them, and you get comments back, and it's just, it kind of, goes into, well, we really like to see this here, but so you're trying to kind of pre-plan before your engineer gets too far down the line. It just has to, erase everything and start over. So that's what, when I brought in the questions about the fire marshal and Laura's group, the planning, the extra connections and stuff like that, that's where that came in. We solicited and asked for any comment, every comment that we could get, just so we could get those bigger questions answered. For if we need to connect through with a 80 to 100 foot wide entry section, it's 150, 175 feet deep. That's a huge amount of land. If we had, we were contemplating putting lots on it. So once we had those areas identified with the fire marshal and that group, Mike's group came in, Mike Mann, with utilities. We want a loop here, we need a loop here, we need a corridor, and then we could kind of plan accordingly. So that's where I kind of brought in the city. It wasn't, they didn't request this. This is our request. We've asked them for comment, asked them for guidance, and what they needed, if regardless of whether they're 55 and 65s, what they needed, because it's we've had some questions in the past when we go to develop a unit. Oh, we'd like an entry here. Well, it's not shown on the master plan. Well, the master plan is conceptual. We want an entry here. Well, okay, it's wasn't planning on it. We didn't show it. Y'all reviewed it, but we'll put it in. We just didn't want to get in that situation of having to move a street or connect to something else that we weren't anticipating.
It's a lot of fire code issues,
It is, and it's
connections and fire safety and stuff.
one of those things you don't, until you kind of conceptually it works. Everybody agrees that the concept plan is just that, a concept plan. Until you get to the the nitty gritty of planning and platting and getting all the drawings done and paying the engineer to really push out a volume of plans, and then you get comments back and you've got to change 65 sheets of set of plans. It's we just didn't want to be in that situation, so we asked up front, if you think you want an entry, tell us and we'll put it.
So does anybody else have any questions for Jeff?
Expected start date soon as possible.
Nancy, I'll get you.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
Last
Joy.
question from Mike Brown. The start date on 2A and 2B and 3B on or about as soon as we can after August 29th. Assuming we're going to have 1, 2, or 3 of those plats on that agenda, we can set up a pre-construction meeting with Public Works, their staff, as they're available, hopefully that following week, and then we'll be under construction.
So that's a good
Jeff,
segue. And then Nancy, I'll get with you in just 2 seconds. We do have a public hearing. It's not a public hearing. We do have a public meeting scheduled for August 29th that everybody's invited to come. Actually, it is a public hearing, zoning, sorry. A public hearing scheduled at the Planning and Zoning Commission, August 29th at 6 p.m. Council chambers. So y'all should be getting notification in the mail. We also reached out to the acting HOA folks, and they were supposed to send some information as well. So hopefully you've got that. Please also attend that. Nancy has kind of tried to say something a couple of times, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and ask your question. I've got somebody else that's queued up. Go ahead.
Just to bring it back to the whole point of the meeting, just to kind of clarify. So it looks like, the proposed plan shows a 0 change to the number of 55-foot lots. So I just kind of want to make sure I understand. So when the original master plan was put out there, the zoning was not correct then for what the master plan, and that's what you're coming back now to do. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that was not, okay. So that's what's being contemplated.
so
Because that was the piece that I was not understanding, like
It's-
if the zoning was not correct to begin with, because it doesn't look like there's a change to the number of 55-foot lot homes.
Correct.
I
Now,
will say this, so let me clarify. Remember, it wasn't too long, it was last year, late last year, the city went through an entire rezoning of all properties, every residential lot, every commercial lot. So in that zoning, we allowed some flexibility within the zoning that allowed more flexibility in the lot types. So that's gone away when we changed the zoning. So we're much tighter in what we do and don't allow in different zonings. So that's part of the issue over here.
That's part of it. Okay. And then just to kind of bring up, I know that this was not a discussion. I think one of the neighbors had also mentioned the commercial zoning piece. We know that that's not what the purpose of this is, but one of the maps that was included in the communication out that some of us received yesterday does show a neighborhood commercial zoning in the future land use master plan. And as you can imagine, that is a very sensitive topic for a lot of the neighbors. And so that's why it was being asked, because it was included in the packet as a part of the communication being received.
Oh, let me look at that, because that so it should have been
It's for the future. No, so the
Sure, right
future
here.
land use
Just to
master
kind of
plan
clarify.
has it.
Oh, that's a future land use plan. So that it's not a zoning. It just what it shows, the future land use plan talks about intended uses over time, but it's not a zoning. They still have to go through rezoning to get that. So
Okay,
if you
and
look,
I think that was part of the kind of the question surrounding that.
probably ought to put some kind of clarification of what is a future land use plan so that everybody understands, because you're right, we get that question on occasion. But it is not a zoning. If you look throughout the city, we've got an interactive map online that you can look at. The entire city is under a future land use plan, and we identify areas that should be commercial or should be residential or multifamily, that sort of thing. So that's what that is.
Okay, great. And then my last question is just the number of homes that have been built so far to date and how much remain of the 855 homes proposed.
There are 573 plus or minus, probably 2 or 3 to rate ready to finish building. So we are right, not quite 300. I think my last count was like 277, 280 are out here right now.
Okay,
So we're
Great.
about a third, maybe a little bit better than a third the way through.
okay.
Jeff, Rick again. So you're going to start 2A, 2B, and 3B as a group. Is that correct?
Correct. We got one contractor with the 2s and one with the 3B.
And are you going to punch through the road to connect to Herf Ranch?
Yes.
At that time?
Yes, 2A, 2A plat has Herf Ranch and just a small little horseshoe section with like 29 lots. It was just, that was the kind of a planning, platting, I don't know if you want to call it a gimmick, minimum requirement. We wanted to be able to get 2A approved quickly, and the threshold to not have 2 entries was 29 lots. So we added Herf Ranch Boulevard, added 29 lots, 29 buildable lots to the 2A plat, split that plat up. That way we wouldn't have to build we wouldn't have to get 172 lots with 9,000 feet of street built to sell one lot. We've got.
May I ask a question, Jeff?
Mhm.
Sure, it's, I just got a phone number up, but if you'll just tell me your name, please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yes, the name is Sally Cabrera. So I have a multi-pronged question just for clarification.
Mhm.
So unit 5, 7, and 8, the southern part, it's a decreased number of lots to about 268 from R1M to R2N. Accommodate that 65 and 55. 6 isn't in that section. But in addition to that, then 3B, 2A, and 2B are going to be starting pretty soon. So that's the first part. So I guess for clarifications, that's where we're going.
Yeah, 2A, 2B, 3B are unaffected by this
By
zoning.
the rezoning, right?
Yeah, and the rezoning is just a decrease in the number or downsizing some of the lots.
Just to allow the lot frontage to be,
More narrow.
the zoning
More narrow.
allows us 50 feet, but we are not going to build 50-foot lots. We will be continue building the 55s and 65s where
Okay.
shown.
So that's the first part. So just for clarification, so we're good. The second part is, so in addition to that, Copper Creek and Herf Ranch Road are going to have multiple egresses and entrances. According to the map that I see, you're going to have approximately 11 gates coming in and out of the community, all flowing into Herf and Copper.
Correct.
So those are gated streets, right, Jeff?
Mhm.
All of those
Yeah.
are.
The
11
one closest to Herf Ranch is egress only, an emergency fire department. That was a fire department request. They didn't
So
want
that's
another.
this
full
one right
elevator.
here.
They only wanted an egress and an emergency entry.
Is that the very top, that very top corner where Herf and Ranches of Creekside meet?
Yes, where where Laura's little hand is on the purple arrow.
Okay, I can't see it, but
Okay, yeah, it's.
I'm
But
you
you're
come-
right. That's
the
what
dead-
I'm describing.
yeah.
It's
Where Herf Ranch currently ends, the dead ends about 130 feet plus or minus. There is
okay. That's just emergency.
But yes, there will be all the entries coming off of Herf Ranch, the single one, and all the remaining ones that haven't been constructed off Copper Creek will be gated. To answer somebody's question in the chat real quick, Herf Ranch and Copper Creek are, just because it's on the master plan and the major thoroughfare plan, those are going to be public roads. City of Boerne will maintain those. Of course, I will continue doing the landscaping on them, but those will not be gated. There won't be a master gate at Herf Ranch.
right.
Herf
Okay.
Ranch and Copper Creek will be public roads.
Okay, so the third part of that is, so therefore, we're looking at about 855 homes in Ranches at Creekside, and there's only one pool for the entire community. So when is the city going to authorize and approve the plans for the amenity center? Just throwing that one out.
That is, I've got my builder picked out. That's in code compliance. I've talked to Jesse last week. He's got the plans under review. We've given them and answered questions as quickly as we possibly can. And we're waiting on final approval so we can start.
So now it's just down to construction plans. The plat's been approved for it.
Yeah,
It's
the plat, 4C plat was approved quite a while back, but the construction plans and the public works side and the code compliance side, which handles the structure itself.
Okay.
And the fire marshal. As soon as I get
Okay.
approved plans, I will start.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just go back and read all of the maps and the drawings from the August 1st city council meeting that are on the web. And then just wanted to get an idea on all those gates that we have supposedly projected.
Yeah. And that's one of the, some of the changes, the public work. Some of their specs have changed. So, that's some of the changes. They have a different, I'm gonna bore you, but stacking requirements, we have to have so many cars outside the gate. So a lot of those gates and entries that I had proposed previously had to be changed. So we could accommodate stacking, in case the gate was closed or the person in the front of the line was blocking both and didn't know the code, and just allows more cars to kind of hang out behind them.
Yeah.
The person in front can't figure
Yeah,
out.
no, just trying to get a feel for the number of gates and the amount of traffic that potentially will be on Herf and Copper Creek.
Yeah.
So appreciate it. Thank you very
Mhm.
much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeff, this is a small request, but it's something that's come up here in the neighborhood is, on Coldwater cul-de-sac where you have a cut through on the green space and there's a pathway that leads over to Boulder.
Mhm.
You're familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's the third set of mailboxes on Cimarron Creek has a green space behind the mailboxes. And right now there's nothing there. There's just some mesh to keep the soil in place. And that leads right out to where Herf and Copper Creek are going to connect. And it's about 2 houses away from the entrance to Herf Ranch Road and the connection there. And there are parents who have kids that want to ride their bicycles to the grammar school there. There are moms that want to wheel their littler kids over and get their older kids to grammar school. And could that area be paved much like the area over on Coldwater?
Not until 2A is approved by planning and zoning and I can start construction.
Can you put that in the plan is what I'm asking.
It's in the plan. We do have, I will be connecting a sidewalk to Cimarron to Herf Ranch, but I can't get you. Once I get you to Herf Ranch, you're gonna have to stay on the dirt and walk through an active construction zone. I can't build any of the sidewalk outs in a platted unit until that plat is approved. And those plats and plans have hopefully be on the August 29th agenda. I will coordinate with the contractor to see if we can't get the sidewalk built and get some type of, utilities in quickly and get some type of security skirting around to keep anybody that wants to go through there. But that's going to be a public works and inspections question, whether or not they allow that, and whether my contractor wants, any liability of getting people in the construction zone, because I'm going to have 5 utilities with ditches that are, 13, 18 feet deep. So keeping people out of there, especially kids, is going to be, a priority. But I understand getting them to the elementary school, getting them over there, either on bikes or by foot, is much easier than getting out to 46 and hitting 2 lights. So that is a discussion I will have with inspections and my contractors together, whether or not we can accommodate that and how quickly we can accommodate that, if at all. But like I said, I can't do anything in that unplatted area until my plat is approved and I get to go ahead and start construction.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions?
Jeff, over on unit 6, there's some oak wilt in the trees there. It's south of the horseshoe, maybe the third cul-de-sac. When do you anticipate getting to that point so that can be mitigated?
I've met with Ryan Bass. I don't know if you've talked to him. He is
Our environmental planner.
arborist, but he's in the planning department, kind of in charge of trees and some open space and stuff like that. But I've met him out there. We did get permission to remove all the oak wilt that was currently in place. Last November, December, we got rid of that. A couple of new areas had popped up during that time. He and I have met, and knowing that we're real close to starting construction and being able to knock trees over. Once we can start, get these 3 plats to approve P&Z and get my construction go ahead from Public Works up in Boerne, we will be kind of getting outside the area that they're allowed to clear based on the plat, and with his permission, getting some of those other little spots. I think there's a couple of spots in the open space between 3A and 3B that I'm going to treat, with the Forester Service, and a couple areas that everything is completely gone that will be completely removed. So that has been added to my contractor's scope to remove any suspicious trees with Ryan Bass's permission. Once we identify those areas, he just asked that my engineer just cloud an area on my master tree plan and just say diseased, and resubmit it for his records, and we are going to get those removed. So the first thing that my contractor did is, when he has permission to start, we'll be clearing the right of way and get rid of these trees. So
okay, that's good to hear.
but as soon as we can get on site and start with Bernie's permission to start constructing the unit, we will be getting rid of those troubled areas again.
Hey, Jeff,
Thank you.
Dan Bilski again, just the sequence of 2A, 2B, and 3B, which ones are going to go first, second, and third?
Simultaneous. 2A has to be final prior to building permits being issued on the other 2 units, just because the fire department has requested Her Ranch Boulevard connect first from a public safety standpoint. So 2A and 3B will be first. 2B, just because it's 142 lots, is going to take a little time.
Okay, thank you.
2B will be last, but 2A and 3B pretty much will run simultaneously.
All right, how many lots on 2A, on 2A?
29.
And how about 3B?
42,
Okay,
I believe.
thank you.
And Jeff, when you start 2B, your plan is still to have a temporary entrance off Ammon Road, right? To
My plan
minimize
is, yes,
to
my
minimize the
plan
amount
is
of traffic coming up Boulder.
traffic will be driven down Copper to serve the southern portion, and I'll have to get with the county's road inspector to have a temporary entrance off of Almond Road, just so I can, any kind of deliveries or rock deliveries. I'm not driving traffic up Coldwater. When I
Just
do,
the
and when it's time
construction
to
entrance, right?
construction, when it's time to pave and get asphalt delivered, we will be driving some traffic up Coldwater until we get to that little half stack by the creek. But for all intents and purposes, there may be a work truck that shows up in the morning if they're working there, but deliveries and gravel base, any kind of heavy equipment is coming off of Almond Road. And my early fall project is to get the string line put up and get that area established so I can stop being a dump for brush, and giving a contractor, myself, and maybe a couple other people, a padded lock to seal that area off. But no, construction traffic will come off Copper Creek, Her Ranch, and Almond, not through the local streets.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions about the rezoning?
Laura, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I joined late and I apologize. I got home late from the transportation meeting. This project, and again, I just caught on over the last few minutes. How many homes is on this project? total?
Can you see the map, Alex?
Yes, I can. I'm just having a hard time getting the resolution. I can't see the lot line.
Oh, that's fine. So we've got a total of lots. They started with 873 and with this zoning, it'll be 855.
Okay, okay. And I did catch that the rezoning is not, other than there's some minor modifications, it's not going to change the number of homes. My question is, and again, this probably won't change the outcome of the zoning, but where is this subdivision going to exit onto? Is it going to have more than one exit point? On the map that I have from Google, I don't see the entrances very clearly on the map. Is it going to empty out onto 46?
So are you able to see what I've got up on the screen?
She's on phone.
Not very well, unfortunately.
Okay,
I have an
okay.
old, my Android is terrible.
That's fine. So they've got their main entrance that comes in off of 46 on our thoroughfare plan, which I know you're familiar with. We
Yes.
show a road that exits out of ranches at Creekside. Currently, it dead ends into somebody's property who has no plan to develop. We just had that discussion a few minutes ago. So
Okay.
whether this goes anywhere else or not, I don't know, but it is on the thoroughfare plan. And then they'll have another road that connects to her franch. So those are
Okay.
the two main roads. And then they've got internal gated, it's a gated community. Except for
Okay.
those.
So similar to Esperanza. So right now we know that it's going to go onto 46 and then back onto her. So there's two.
Right, and you've got roads that stub out to nowhere up there as well, right now.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Anybody else? Okay, so we do have the public hearing August 29th, 6 p.m. Hope to see some of you there. This meeting is recorded, so you can watch it. If you missed it, Alex, I know you missed part of it. You can go back and watch it online from beginning to end. If you have any questions, Sarah or myself would love to answer them. Of course, Jeff Hutzler, I know, is also open to answering questions. So just let us know. If you haven't gotten your letter notification yet, it will be coming in the mail shortly. I'm hoping you've got it already. But we appreciate y'all's time and your patience and your respectful behavior. It means a lot to us. So thank you so much.
Just a second before you close, Laura.
Yes, ma'am. Are there comments?
No, there's a question. Jen is asking if the public meeting will be Zoomed too, but no, the P&Z meeting is face-to-face here at City Hall. It starts at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on August 29th.
So the only way we're able to do Zoom is in an emergency. So during COVID, when everybody was shut down, we were able to do Zoom meetings. But otherwise, the law requires that we have open public meetings where people physically show up. Now, in your packets of notification, you will receive a response, a letter of response. You're welcome to fill that out and send it in. If you can't make it to the meeting, we do pass that on to the Planning and Zoning Commission and council members as well. So everybody gets a chance to see your comments. So that's another way that you can respond. If you want to just shoot us an email, we can, we would be glad to share that as well.
Yeah, you can also send us via email. That counts. I just would like to point out that there's a deadline to submit those because we need to have that information before the meeting to have it for the meeting. So the last response need to be turned in before noon on the 29th.
Right, it gives us a few hours to make copies for everybody. All right, anybody else?
Nope. Laura, Sarah, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate y'all very much. We'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.